Butterfly. Chapter Summary. The plot thickens. A little butterfly finds its way back home, its instincts rewritten by a ladybug spell. Friday. Something was different. Something had gone wrong, somehow. Whenever Ladybug purified one of his akumas, his empathic connection to it and his control over it would be broken, and it wouldn't hunt down any more victims at his command, nor would it return to him of its own volition. That wasn't what had happened to this last one. Sure enough, when it finally came back through the window, his suspicions were confirmed. It wasn't pure white, but a pastel pink, glowing end, trailing sparkling lights behind it. Holding out his hand, open palm up, Hawkmoth silently called it to him. It settled in his hand obediently, and he cupped his other hand over it, focusing on charging it with the dark magic he had given it earlier. He saw it gather beneath his palm, but when he uncovered the akuma, it remained exactly as before. The dark magic dissolved uselessly into nothing, and Hawkmoth stared down at it in disgust. "What in the world have you done, Ladybug?" he demanded, his voice echoing around the cavernous chamber. His akumas, of course, could offer him no insight, and without emotions of its own, the one in his hand felt no different than the rest. It just clearly wasn't pure, like the rest of them. Reluctantly, Hawkmoth released his transformation and caught his kwami in his hands. "Something strange has happened, Noru," he said without preamble. He nodded towards the pink butterfly, which stuck out like a sore thumb among its white fellows. This akuma came back, changed, not purified. Noru flew over to get a closer look at it, then turned to face his master. "It isn't charged with your magic, either," he said. "If it isn't pure, either, it must be charged with Ladybug's power, somehow." "Oddly enough, I had gathered as much myself," Gabriel replied icily. "But how? Why this time?" "Master, what is the date?" Noru asked. "Friday, September 2nd, answered Gabriel automatically. "But what does that have to do my akumas, or Ladybug's powers?" "I'll explain if I'm right," Noru said. "What was the date the last time you sent an akuma?" Quote dot dot dot. "August 31st, he answered after a moment's thought. "A Wednesday. Why?" "Ah," Noru nodded, looking thoughtful. "That makes sense." He came floating back towards his master. "Master, today was the first time you sent out an akuma since September 1st, this year." September 1st was the day Ladybug and Chat Noir appeared, and so it's been a year now since they first received their powers. And this is all significant because Gabriel pressed, staring the kwami down impatiently with his eyebrows raised. "Their mating cycle has just begun, Master," Noru answered. "In order to help protect Ladybug. During this time, her miraculous must have enhanced her powers and charged the purified akuma with her magic instead of yours, to prevent the threat to her from returning. Until the mating cycle is over, this will probably happen to every akuma she purifies. Seeing as you somehow neglected to mention this mating cycle until now," Gabriel said, his voice hinting at his slowly rising temper. "Maybe you'll take this opportunity to explain it." "Only Ladybug's and Chat Noir's kwamis know all about how it works, Master," Noru replied apologetically. "But for 30 days, Ladybug and Chat Noir will be powerfully attracted to each other, and find it almost impossible to resist the urge to copulate with one another. Any children they bear would be more likely to be worthy of bearing their parents' miraculouses, if Ladybug and Chat Noir fall protecting their people." Gabriel snorted in disbelief. As if the typical teenager needed more encouragement to fall prey to their human instincts, emotional and reckless as they tended to be. "As long as their so-called mating cycle doesn't affect my ability to make supervillains, I see no reason to change my approach," he remarked. "I have hundreds of akumas at my disposal. Ladybug could spoil 2 of them a day, and I'd still have dozens to spare after only 30 days. If anyone is going to be inconvenienced, it's going to be Ladybug and Chat Noir themselves." If that was the only way you'd be affected, then you'd be right, Master, Noru admitted. But as the Akumas keep coming back to you carrying Ladybug's magic, they might start to have adverse effects on you. We have no way of knowing what could happen. I'm not going to put my entire mission on hold for a month because some adverse effects might happen. Gabriel snapped, the room amplifying his voice to a roar. Especially when this could be when Ladybug and Chat Noir are at their most vulnerable. But Master, they won't be more vulnerable, they'll be incredibly protective of each other, and possibly more aggressive towards the supervillains you send after them, even more in tune with each other's movements. They may be harder to defeat than they ever have before. I'll let the results of my future battles with them speak for themselves, Gabriel said firmly. I don't care to hear about your theories if you have no evidence for them. And with that, he turned and strode out of the room, shutting the window hatch and plunging the butterflies into total darkness. When I Think About You. Chapter Summary. Marinette returns home for the afternoon, and loses herself in the strange new memory of sweet, sweet kisses. What does this special moment say about her feelings?